Okay, shall we begin the third invited talk? It's an honor for me to introduce Professor Daikoku. By chance, we have translated David Cope's Musical Creativity. At the time, we have encountered the same problem that we need to define what is a creativity. For example, that is exhaustive search in the database is not a creativity. And just what's a combination of the two data may not produce a new data. That is not a creativity. So today we'd like to welcome to Professor Daikoku, and he has two different experts. One is neuroscience. He's a PhD in medicine, and the second major is of course computer science. So he likes to combine definition of neuroscience and computer science towards creativity. But before that, one comment. What the creator did is to give a new life. He has acquired a baby 4 days ago. First, let us celebrate. Okay, may I ask this presentation?
So thank you for the kind introduction and thank you for introducing my baby. So his name is Tsubaki. Tsubaki in English, it is a Japanese camellia. It's a flower name and it's a Japanese flower. So and the Tsubaki is kind of meaning more beautiful Japanese mental beautiful or something like that. So and he's of course man. Because I'm a music researcher and my wife is a pianist. Even my wife's insights, I try him to hear the music by vibrating the speaker. Anyway, by the way, I tend to speak with a bit rather loud voice, so therefore I keep some distance from my microphone. So I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak at this international conference today. My name is Tatsuya Daikoku, assistant professor at the University of Tokyo and associate professor at the Hiroshima University, and also I'm an affiliated researcher in Cambridge University. By the way, sorry. Okay. Anyway, it's such a happy coincidence to be celebrated by many people. Like this, I'm truly delighted, maybe. So let's start. The main focus of my research is creativity, with a particular interest in actually the brain development associated with musical creativity. Creativity is a process of producing something that is both original and worthwhile. It also contributes to the perception and production of information in new ways. There is no doubt that creativity is linked to acquired knowledge. However, the underlying mechanism remains unclear. In particular, there is little understanding of how novel information emerges from acquired knowledge and why such novel information can be accepted as creative. In part 3 of understanding, in pursuit of understanding the cognitive foundation. Okay. In pursuit of understanding the cognitive foundation unique to human creativity, So it is, in pursuit of understanding the cognitive foundation unique to human creativity, I have employed highly interdisciplinary approaches, integrating computational model, neuroimaging, acoustic analysis, and simulation experiment to understand the developmental process. I have also developed an automatic composition system that implements a computational model of musical creativity, mirroring the individual differences of creativity. So leveraging the computational model of musical creativity, I try to predict neo-futuristic music through automatic composition system. Today, I share the series of this research associated with musical cognition, emotion, and creativity. To understand this, I focus on the brain's fundamental principle of predictive processing. Our brain continuously predicts sensory input drawing on prior experience. A prediction error occurs when there is a gap between the prior prediction and the actual sensory input. The brain uses Bayesian inference to reconcile this prediction error, treating the prediction from internal model as prior probability and sensory input as a likelihood, to arrive at the most probable posterior prediction. Prior predictions are regulated by perceptual uncertainty at higher hierarchical level. The important question is then, through this predictive processing, how music is learned and created, and how music emotion emerge. Particularly, the music predictive processing is often explained with the framework of statistical learning, which is an innate and implicit learning system of the brain. Statistical learning refers to systems that calculate transitional probability from sequential information such as music and language, and use this probability to predict future information while being modulated by perceptual uncertainty. This learning system is reflected in brain activity by using EEG and MEG. When the brain encodes the transitional probability of the stimulus sequences, it expects probable future stimuli with a high transitional probability and inhibit the neural responses to predictable stimuli. Finally, the effect of statistical learning manifests as the differences in the brain activity between stimuli with lower and higher transitional probability. For instance, statistical learning enables infants to extract the chunk of high probability sound streams such as word and phrase from their mother's speech sound, even without any prior linguistic knowledge. Let's proceed with a brief exercise. You'll first be presented with a longer sound stream, followed by two distinct shorter sound streams. I'd like you to listen carefully and then identify which of shorter sound is more familiar with you. This is a learning sound. Then the two shorter sounds. First is, the second is. So I guess most of you might find the first set of shorter sounds more familiar, right? Interestingly, the longer sequencing is actually comprised of concatenation of several shorter chunked streams. The transitional probability within the chunk is, of course, 100%, while the transitional probability between chunks is lower. Our brain subconsciously calculates this transitional probability, allowing us to subconsciously extract the sound chunk. As a result, we find these shorter sounds familiar. Recent evidence has shown that such a statistical learning contributes not only to the perception of music, but also creation of music. That is, the internal model generated by music statistical learning can be utilized when creating a new music. The next question is how music statistical learning elicits music emotion and creative experience. Regarding this, the music prediction error elicits physical sensation, such as chills or increase in heart rate. These physical sensations can sometimes be experienced as musical pleasure, which in turn stimulates the release of dopamine in the brain, a process known as positive reward prediction error. That is, these music-induced physical sensations contribute to embodied cognition or embodied aesthetic experience of music. For example, music syncopation occurs when the tone is played at the moment that doesn't align with the regular beat timing. This gap between basic beat and actually tone elicits the prediction error, often leading to the behavioral impulse to tap our feet or hand to reinforce the beat internalized by the brain. Imagine you are listening to this sound. There's a syncopation. In that moment, our brain starts to anticipate the next beat, compelling us to tap along with our feet or hand. This is a beat. So this action blends our brain tapping sound with the actual rhythm sound, like this. So this can be interpreted that brain tries to reduce the perceptual uncertainty of rhythm or temporal information and making temporal prediction easier by active inference, leading to music enjoyment and brain reward thanks to the reduction of prediction error. Importantly, such active inference are less likely to occur when rhythms are overly complex. This is because excessively complex rhythms make it difficult to resolve prediction error even with active inference. In other words, it's believed that there is somehow an appropriate level of uncertainty and prediction error which can be resolved by active inference, trigger the behavioral impulse. This is often explained by inverted U-shaped curve. For example, when uncertainty weighted prediction error, which combine prediction error and uncertainty, is at intermediate level, which is corresponding to the peak of inverted U-shaped curve, it can evoke stronger pressure of music. A functional MRI study has also reported that syncopation, which corresponds to the peak of inverted U-shaped curve of temporal predictability, leads to activity of brain's reward systems such as nucleus accumbens and the orbitofrontal cortex and the motor system, including the basal ganglia and the premotor cortex. That is, by certain prediction error, the brain prompts our body to move and in doing so, receive a reward. The peak of the inverted U-shaped uncertainty-weighted prediction error apply not only to rhythm but also to musical chord progression. In this case, the peak of the inverted U-shaped corresponds to the situation where either uncertainty or surprise is high and the other is low. As an example, I generate a universal model of musical chord progression based on brain statistical learning using a large corpus of music chords. Then, using this model, I created 4 types of 4 chord progression by manipulating both uncertainty and surprise. For example, in pattern 1, both uncertainty and surprise are consistently low across 4 chord sequences. Therefore, we can easily predict the 4 chords. It's easy to predict. In pattern 2, uncertainty and surprise are low until the 3rd chord, but at the 4th chord, last chord, only surprise increase while uncertainty remain low. Therefore, we will be certainly surprised when we hear 4th chord. It's a certainly surprise. So in pattern 3, uncertainty and surprise are low up to the 3rd chord, it's the same, but at the 4th chord, only uncertainty increase while surprise remain low. This type of chord sequences leads to the uncertain prediction when we hear the 3rd chord, but we may be relieved when we actually heard the 4th chord, because the 4th chord is less surprise. Then next. This kind of the resolution. In pattern 4, uncertainty and surprise are low up to the 3rd chord, but at the 4th chord, both uncertainty and surprise increase. This type leads to the uncertain prediction when we heard the 3rd chord. Then we may be actually surprised when we heard the 4th chord. So in this case, the peak of the inverted U-shaped uncertain weighted prediction error corresponding to the either pattern 2 or pattern 3, where either uncertainty or surprise is high and the other is low. A functional MR study has reported that the reward system in the brain is activated during such a curve. Now, regarding the issue of how statistical learning contributes to the musical emotional creativity, I will focus on the following 3 key points. The first is hierarchy. The second is the temporal dynamics, or fluctuation of prediction and uncertainty. And the third is, as mentioned earlier, the embodied cognition, not just auditory sensory cognition. That is, whole body as well as the brain function is important. It's about the feeling of our body, like the increase of heartbeat by excitement. So let's start with the first one, the hierarchy. It's well known that music and language have temporal hierarchy. For example, in speech waveform, the hierarchy encompasses the large rhythm around the delta band. Corresponding to the prosody or word of language, within this large rhythm, there is a sublevel of rhythm around the theta alpha band, corresponding to the syllable or tone, and further sublevel of rhythm around the beta band, corresponding to the phoneme or onset of sound. Such a hierarchy is not unique to language, but is also intrinsic to music. For example, the right side of this slide is a part of the score of Beethoven's Dear Baby variation. Left and right are the representation of musical score and corresponding to the sound waveform. In principle, music rhythm could be hierarchically organized based on note value, matched to next amplitude modulation in banding, spanning different temporal rate. I recently devised a Bayesian amplitude demodulation model to extract music hierarchy from sound waveform. This model extracts the cascade of amplitude modulation envelope temporal information at the different oscillatory rates, such as delta, theta, and beta, from spectral information using Bayesian inference. By this model, we analyze hierarchical structure of lots of sound using a large corpus of sound set. Our study revealed that the delta rhythm is essential for music and infant direct speech compared with adult direct speech and non-human nature sounds such as fire and river, rain, and so on. These slides present an example of music and speech rhythm. As illustrated, language and music consist of a hierarchical rhythm including delta band rhythm compared to other sound stimuli. This delta rhythm is actually known to be important for infant auditory learning at the very first stage. That is, infant first learn the delta rhythm, then theta alpha rhythm in holistic to analytic or top-down manner. Neural oscillator contribute to the decomposing the auditory signal into its layer by phase synchronization with each layer of the input sound. For example, the brain's delta wave phase synchronized with the corresponding to auditory delta rhythm. After that, brain theta wave synchronized with the corresponding to the auditory theta rhythm. That is, acquiring the delta rhythm is considered important for the initial learning of music and also language. Interestingly, even if there is no clear acoustic property of this hierarchy, such as accent and strong onset signal, the brain can internally generate a hierarchy based on lexical and syntactic knowledge. That is, the brain can interpret and phase synchronize with the rhythm structure by extracting syntactic structure as well as acoustic structure. For example, in statistical learning, before chunking tone or syllable as a word and a phrase unit, the preceding brain wave phase synchronize with frequency rhythm of each tone or syllable. But after chunking, they also start to synchronize with the frequency rhythm of the chunk unit, such as word and phrase. This allows the brain to understand the hierarchical structure of statistical chunk rhythm, even without clear acoustic property among chunks such as accent and intonation. So we also revealed such a neural oscillatory mechanism using EEG and TMS. These sequences of sound consist of 300 millisecond tones that appear in 3-tone cluster. Within each cluster, the transition probability from one tone to the next tone is 100%, while the transition probability between clusters is around 30%. Initially, the brain synchronized with tone rhythm, that is the 3 Hz. However, as statistical learning progresses, the brain starts to chunk these tones as a cluster and begin to synchronize with the rhythm of the cluster. Interestingly, our EEG and TMS study recently revealed that this phase synchronization and hierarchical building by statistical learning can be facilitated by temporarily inhibiting the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, whose area develops with age, using the inhibitory theta burst stimulation. This implies that the developed brain area, that is, dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and here, may suppress the brain auditory statistical learning and hierarchical building. Actually, it's considered that the prefrontal cortex is involved in exploiting the learned knowledge and may contribute to top-down prior prediction generated by prior knowledge. Further, children, the less developed brain, often show cognitive individuality of hypo-prior prediction, that is, less influenced by prior prediction and tend to hypersensitivity instead. Our findings may suggest that the children whose prefrontal cortex are less developed may be better at statistical learning, and therefore they may be able to learn the initial mother language and music more efficiently than adult second language learning. My research has demonstrated that such hierarchical structure are also important in creation as well as learning of music. For instance, the music score on this slide is Misty by Errol Garner, composed by 1954. Jazz music has a general regularity in chord progression such as so-called 2-5-1 progression. It is a chord progression whose root descending the fifth from the subdominant to the dominant and finally to the tonic chord. This syntactic progression frequently occurs in jazz improvisation, and as a result, this chord progression have high transitional probability and low uncertainty. Once a person has statistically learned transitional probability of this chord progression, they can be chunked as a commonly used unit like word. However, the way of combining the chunked 2-5-1 unit are different between musicians, thus representing the individuality of musical creativity. That is, low hierarchical statistical learning fundamentally provides general and common knowledge, while the higher hierarchical statistical learning contributes to the individual knowledge of musical creativity. Regarding this, my past study examined the statistical characteristics of jazz improvisation played by Bill Evans, Herbie Hancock, and McCoy Tyner, who are world-renowned jazz pianists, right? Each color of the bottom figure in this slide represents each musician, and each dot represents each song. The result shows that low hierarchical units have general characteristics shared among the three musicians, while higher hierarchical statistical units provide individuality unique to each musician. To more deeply understand the emergent process of such individuality, I conducted a simulation experiment. Specifically, we examined three main points of statistical learning. That is, how such a hierarchical statistical learning contributes to the hierarchical building through the chunking and the acquisition of delta rhythm, that is essential for early language and music learning. Then, how such a statistical learning process contributes to the cognitive individuality related to creativity. For this research, I developed a new model called hierarchical Bayesian statistical learning, mimicking the actual hierarchical statistical learning process of the brain. Simply speaking, it integrated across the Markov process, but also with Bayesian inference. A transition pattern is chunked when both of the transition probability, that is the predictability, and inverse of its variance, that is reliability of prediction, is greater than the constant alpha. Using this model, we conducted a simulation experiment to visualize the temporal dynamics of perception and production process through statistical running. By manipulating the sensitivity to sound stimuli, we simulate the 3 cognitive individual models with different reliability on bottom-up sensory stimuli relative to top-down prior prediction, that is hyposensitivity, normal sensitivity, and hypersensitivity model. For example, suppose there are 2 brains with hyposensitivity and those with hypersensitivity. These brains originally possess prior knowledge of this music through statistical running. Then they learn this music. Completely different characteristic, has a different characteristic. Afterwards, the brain generates a new piece of music. In the case of the hypersensitivity, the newly composed music should be drawn toward the prior knowledge, meaning it should resemble the music that provides the prior knowledge. The actual answer is his. So it's a mix, of course, first and the second one, but it's more prior knowledge, depending on the prior knowledge. On the other hand, with the hypersensitivity or hypoprior model, the newly composed music should resemble the newly learned music. When you actually listen to it, it feels like this. It's almost the same, the second learning one. So I just exaggerate to simply clearly understand. So these 3 models repetitively learn the Japanese nursery rhyme, Yuyake Koyake, up to the 5 times. So this is a very famous Japanese nursery rhyme. Then after each learning session, the model probabilistically composes a new music. So here is the result about the learning process. We firstly analyze the total prediction error during statistical running using callback divergence and number of chunks caused by statistical running. The result shows that in normal and hypersensitivity model, the prediction error gradually decreases, and the number of chunks increase through the hierarchical statistical running process. However, in the hypersensitivity model, there was neither the decrease in prediction error nor the increase in chunk. Here is the result of the composed music. We first analyze the acoustic property of the composed music by converting MIDI into word file. The result indicated that by repetition of statistical running of one song, the hyper model gradually facilitates the production of delta rhythm, while the hypo model shows a gradual decrease of delta rhythm. Further, we conducted the TSNE analysis of probabilistic distribution of composed music in order to visualize statistical similarity among music. Here is the original song. Do you remember? The result shows that the hyper model generates a music closer to learned music. It's very similar, almost the same. In contrast, the hypo model composed music far from the learned music. in summary, what I want to say is that a hypersensitive model is better at statistical learning, but become fixated on their internal statistical knowledge, making it difficult to generate new information. Whereas the hypersensitive model has a lower efficiency of statistical learning, but may be better at generating a new information. Various individual characteristics may not necessarily confer an overall advantage over others, as they may be a trade-off between learning efficiency and the ease of generating new information. That is, the paradoxical phenomenon in which the individual with certain cognitive trait that impede statistical learning ability may exhibit a superior performance in creative context. Further, I also examined the cultural difference as well. That is, I conducted a simulation experiment to visualize the temporal dynamics of perception and production process through the statistical learning among different cultures. The model ran from the corpus of children's song in MIDI format, which consists of English, German, Spanish, Japanese, and Korean song as a training data. In this study, I investigated how probability distribution of the model is transformed over 15 trials of the statistical learning in each song. Furthermore, using the probability distribution of each model over 15 trials learned each song, new song was probabilistically generated. The result suggests that regardless of culture, in learning process, chunking and hierarchical knowledge gradually increase and Bayesian supply gradually decrease through 15 rounds of statistical learning. In production process, statistical learning leads to gradually increase the delta band here, regardless of the culture. Further, as the model underwent more learning iteration, it gradually began to create new music relative to original piece of music. These findings were observed consistently in multiple cultures. Regardless of culture. So in summary, this cultural study indicates that the statistical learning capacity of the brain in multiple cultures contributes to the acquisition and generation of delta band rhythm, which is critical for acquiring language and music. That is, cultural difference may not significantly modulate the statistical learning process, since the statistical learning and delta rhythm processing are both essential functions in the human brain across culture. Furthermore, statistical learning of children's song leads to generation of novel music. This study may provide a novel perspective on the developmental origin of creativity and the importance of statistical learning through the early development. By the way, using this model, I have also recently developed applications that visualize the individuality of musical creativity. For example, when improvising, the application analyzes one's musical individuality using hierarchical statistical learning model and map it visually into 2 dimensions to see how similar it is to other composers' individuality, like the Beatles and Mozart. Here. It can also suggest what kind of practice to do or what kind of music to hear in order to get ability closer to the desired composer or musician. Next, let's talk about the second key point, the temporal dynamics of predictability. In music, the surprise or prediction become more pronounced when uncertain and prediction error fluctuate within a single piece of music. For instance, the predictable code following the completely predictable code progression may lead to boring. It's the same sound. It's kind of leads to boring. However, a predictable code following the unpredictable code progression may lead to a series of relief, like this. can feel more strongly the resolution. Such temporal dynamics or fluctuation of predictability leads to individuality of music, such as genre, musician, and so on. Furthermore, such fluctuation also occur between songs. We detected, so my previous study detected that the uncertainty of music fluctuates over a composer's lifetime. For instance, uncertainty of music was gradually increased in Beethoven's piano sonata over his lifetime. This fluctuation of prediction not only occurs through the composer's lifetime, but also evolved across various composers and through time. By hierarchical Bayesian statistical learning, analyze the temporal dynamics of predictability of large corpus of jazz improvisation. That is, I examine how individuality of temporal dynamics of uncertainty and surprise in improvisational melody has changed over time from 19th hundred and 2000s. It shows that there are distinct features of the temporal dynamics in each era, suggesting an epochal change of individuality of musical creativity over time within the framework of this hierarchical statistical learning. So using this hierarchical statistical learning and the concept of the temporal dynamics of predictability, I attempting to capture the change of temporal dynamics through the age, from Renaissance to Baroque, to classical and romantic, and use regression to predict future temporal dynamics, thereby generating neo-futuristic music. At present, there is music that has been predicted by models trained up to Baroque era, which simulates a transition into romantic era, akin to what composers around Beethoven's time might have created when striving for a new type of music beyond the typical music at that time. This piece of music, which I will share with you, showcases the fascinating characteristic of temporal dynamics of prediction. As you hear, there are moments where predictable phrase and harmony lead us through the melody. Then, unexpectedly, the music introduces an unusual phrase, a delightful surprise that maintains our interest. Just ignore the musical sheets, it's automatically generated, so it's messy. Maybe piano roll might be better to easier to understand. I only code the pitch, height of the pitch, and only the length of the tone. That's all. I don't input any musical information. But we can hear this is the music. We can recognize this is the music. I didn't think the end of the music, so it sounds strange. But at the heart, there is the essence that feel reminiscent of Baroque style, while simultaneously divergent from it. It's this blend that culminates in composition that is both familiar and novel. Now, we also turn to musicological analysis to decipher why music took this form. So now I would like to turn to the final factor, embodied cognition of music. As discussed today, by a certain music prediction error, the brain prompts our body to move, and in doing so, receive a reward. Further, music has the power to ignite our creative behavior. But beyond that, music also sparks embodied cognition, not just the auditory sensory cognition. It's about the feeling of our body, like an increase of heartbeat by exciting. Interestingly, embodied emotion can be monitored through the body sensation map triggered by emotion. Recent studies suggest that such a subjective body map may be reflected in actual body physical recording, such as positron emission tomography, heart rate, respiration, and so on. Very recent study revealed that the music emotion can also be monitored by such a body map. That is, whole body as well as brain itself function. However, no study investigates how fluctuation of uncertainty and prediction error, temporal dynamics, modulate body map within the framework of music hierarchical statistical learning. Utilizing the large corpus music progression, we have developed a general model of prediction music harmony based on hierarchical statistical learning. With this model, we crafted 8 sequences of 4 chords by manipulating uncertainty and surprise. So I just skipped this one because I presented today. So participants were exposed to these 8 types of chord progression in random order. Following each listening session, they were asked to respond with click to the position in the body where they felt from the chord using the body image present on the screen. Then they were required to select the best 5 emotion categories in ranking elicited by each sound from a list of 33 emotional categories. Further, they answer 9-point Likert scale of balance and arousal. We compare the musical body map and the corresponding emotional responses among 8 types of chord progression. Here is the result of the body map. So interestingly, when both prediction error and uncertainty were low in chord progression, participants reported the strong sensation, particularly in the abdomen position here. Conversely, when listening the chord progression with fluctuation of predictability, where the surprise was high but uncertainty was low, the fitting into the peak point of the inverted U curve of uncertainty-weighted prediction error, participants showed a strong sensation, particularly around the heart area, but not abdomen area. This suggests that the embodied cognition of the music, where certain harmonic patterns are able to elicit distinct sensation, body sensation, in different parts of the body. Further, we have discovered that the heart sensation, something like excitement, related excitement, heart sensation correlates with a positive balance. This finding suggests that the possible correlation between musical positive emotion and the interoceptive sensation felt in the heart. Regarding other emotions, the temporal dynamics of predictability that intensifies sensation in stomach area, and heart area were associated with heightened positive emotion, such as aesthetic emotion and sense of relief. Conversely, other types of temporal dynamics of predictability were found to evoke negative emotion, such as anxiety and awkward. This suggests that the particularly embodied interoceptive cognition might be crucial in experiencing musical beauty. It's compelling insight into how music touches us, not just emotionally or cognitively, but also physically. In summary, so the last slide, in summary, the hierarchical statistical learning here, which is an innate and implicit learning system in our body, may contribute to eliciting music, emotion, and emergence of creativity. Then, such a hierarchical statistical learning can lead to temporal fluctuation or dynamics of prediction and uncertainty. That is, it's not only the static value of the uncertain weight prediction error at a single point in time, but also the temporal dynamics or fluctuation that contribute to the music emotion. These fluctuations play a crucial role in shaping the narrative of musical pieces, elevating it into the unique and original music. Finally, these fluctuations and the hierarchical statistical learning can evoke specific physical sensation, embodied cognition, unique to music. So potentially leading to the enhanced appreciation of its aesthetic emotion or beauty emotion. So to understand music emotion, music-specific emotion, and creativity, it may be important to examine whole body function as well as brain function. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
So, I think many comments, questions? You first. Michael.
Just loud?
No.
So, thank you very much. Interesting talk.
Okay.
Yes? Yeah? Okay. Maybe could you please repeat again, because I wasn't entirely sure, how exactly you define, can you hear, is this off now, or can you hear me?
I can hear you.
How do you find surprise and uncertainty, and do you understand them as two completely separate dimensions? Because I felt that they were sort of correlated, and I didn't fully understand how, for example, how to pick these examples
Okay.
to go along these two dimensions.
You mean you're talking about the inverted U-shaped curve?
Well, especially your example, like the harmonic progressions that you chose, exactly, the harmonic progressions you chose to go along different surprise and uncertainty values. How exactly do you define surprise and uncertainty in those examples?
Define.
Yes, because
I mean, so using the large corpus of the music code sequences, I calculate the kind of the transition probability of the code sequences, and then using this general music code progression model, I use for example, this model, I choose the low probability but high, low uncertainty but high probability. So this this means that, well, do you get that kind of musical theory?
I know you chose it, but like that last, for example, in the pattern 2, the last chord, why is it defined as high surprise and low uncertainty?
You mean the definition of the
yes.
value.
How do you reach to that example to say that okay, this
Okay.
example
Well,
now
yes, it's
represents
important.
high surprise and low
So
uncertainty?
there are so many code sequences like this, and this is as well. But this is difficult to find it's difficult to find the code progression like with this. So that's why I just defined the, I forgot, but if I correctly remember it, I defined the high surprise is kind of less than 20% probability, transition probability. I just defined. Otherwise, there is no such code progression. So I just choose the kind of criteria is 80% more than probability more than 80% is predictable, and less than 20% is a surprise.
Okay.
Yeah. And the uncertainty, I just do the normalization of the whole uncertainty and just do the top 20% and the worst 20%.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, please.
Well, thank you for a very interesting presentation. What do you think are the limits of the hierarchy of statistical learning with respect to each of them, cause and melodies?
Limitation.
Highest hierarchy of the.
Okay. Limitation of the hierarchical level.
Yes, yes.
I don't know, because at least in my simulation analysis, it depends on the actually constant. But actually, if I, for example, I just present a 5-time verification, but if the model runs 10 times, whole music is chunked as a one unit.
Yes,
So it depends on the constant. But I don't know the actual human brain. I think it's kind of related to working memory. Or, I don't know, human brain generally good at recognizing a 2 Hz rhythm or 1 Hz rhythm, but the longer rhythm is difficult to chunk as a 1 unit. Maybe this working memory may be related with the limitation of the hierarchy, I guess. I don't know.
Thank you.
a very important question. Thank you very much.
Hi, thanks for the great talk. I'm particularly fond of your last section where you emphasized the body with the brain. I was wondering, maybe I missed something, but in the beginning you talked about learning a rhythm and how it evolves with the brain. I was wondering if you also have some insights of what's the role of the body in learning rhythm, because to me it seems, you know, we walk, we move in a very rhythmic way, so I wonder if the body also has a big part to play in the learning.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, at least now, I just present the motor contribution to understand the rhythm. Anyway, we tap the rhythm by motor. This absolutely contributes to the rhythm participation, but this study is not the motor, it's a body sensation. Well, some studies say that kind of heartbeats or kind of respiration feeling is also related with rhythm perception, but well, to my knowledge, there's no study to completely reveal such a contribution of the body sensation to understand the rhythm.
Thank you.
Still time, so please. No question, no comment?
Can I ask about how a person's individual inverted U curve might change over time? So for example, you know, if you like listening to a lot of unexpected music, maybe more challenging music, perhaps you might sort of learn to enjoy the unexpected or something like that. So yeah, I wonder if the type of music that you tend to listen to can have an impact on your enjoyment of music relative to these measures.
Sorry, it's not so clear to me. Your question is limitation of the recording of the music, or?
My question is, if an individual tends to listen to music with high surprise and high uncertainty, and you know, because some people like unexpected music, so I'm wondering why that is, and if listening to that kind of music over time.
Yeah, because they made that on general music model, they are boring to hear the predictable sound. That's why they want to hear. So this is the reason. This is actually the one that I took, the second factor, temporal dynamics. So we need to firstly decrease the uncertainty and the prediction error. But once it decreases, we need to hear. We want to hear more surprised music and uncertainty. Actually, this is not complete demonstration, but this is actually the Beethoven piano sonata. Maybe, I don't know. I divided the three periods in Beethoven's lifetime. First, they gradually generate uncertain music because, I don't know, they want to kind of motivation to generate the uncertain music, more surprise, that induce more surprise or something like that. Because he tried to fight with the own internal model. This is an exaggeration, but yeah, something like that. This temporal dynamics also occur in the lifetime as well, not only within the music lifetime, and it also evolutionary. There is also temporal dynamics of evolutionary change here.
Thanks.
Still we have a time. You want? Okay. So.
Thank you for your talk. It was very interesting to hear about the small children, how they learn maybe more easily to imitate and remember musical chunks. Is there an age limit for learning, or do they? At what time do we lose this capacity to learn?
Well, yeah, thank you very much for the very interesting question. So I came from the neuroscience, but at least the neuroscience creates a statistical learning. I mean, the children is good at the statistical learning, but by developing, we cannot, difficult to use the statistical learning mechanism, but use a more different learning system because of the development of those lateral prefrontal cortex. But at least in the neuroscience, using the MEG, I target the very not of the aged person. They can do statistical learning anyway. But if this information also includes a prior knowledge, influenced by prior knowledge, it's difficult to do the statistical learning more. For example, I'm Japanese. If I hear the Japanese meaning sound, but we try to kind of interpret from the prior knowledge. So that's why the new information, I think that adults can do the statistical learning because there is no prior knowledge. They need to just rely on the statistical characteristic, I guess.
Thank you.
Hi. So in one of your earlier studies, you mentioned the role of the delta band. In there's a stronger delta band response in music compared to speech. Why do you think that is the case?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so in your earlier slides, you
Yeah.
showed that music and infant-directed speech in the delta band is stronger compared to adult-directed speech. So why do you think that is the case?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I don't know the why. There's no complete demonstration, but I analyzed the large corpus data and I just detected this phenomenon. I think that it's kind of more field of the David Popper's research. Well, my colleague also do the LAT study, and that also synchronize the two heads or one head, delta band reason. That's why I think that because of that, this is kind of an extension of the brain function, I guess, not so body function or something like that. But some researchers say because we work in the working rhythm is kind of delta band, and every movement is kind of delta band. That's why we can recognize the two heads more efficiently. But I don't know. Maybe there are many hypotheses about that. Sorry, answering the complete.
May I ask one question?
Yeah.
So you explained that there's a difference of the hypersensitive and hyposensitive stimulation. I thought that you have explained that you are employing the different parts of the brain. It's like this. But when I learned the melody of the Yu Yake Koyake 10 seconds ago, and I was forced to arrange it. And then in the different cases, I learned the melody, same melody, yesterday. Then I was forced to arrange it. I think that the difference of the short-term memory and long-term memory, and I can arrange in a different way. That is when taking time, the new melody is well, mixed with my memory. So the difference of the time of the memory.
Yes. Very famous study or paper kind of reveals that this is because of sleeping. Sleeping is related with chunking and moving to the long-term memory side. So making the hierarchy may be important for sleeping or changing the different way to become a long-term memory. We cannot, I don't know, but difficult to do the hierarchical building on time, I guess. But once we generate the hierarchical structure, then we can make the new information because the combination of the chunk between chunks is a new way.
My understanding, maybe you're right. That is, different parts of the brain may be affected by the long-term short-term
consolidation. Memory consolidation.
Still 2 minutes. One long question, or two short questions? No? Yeah, we have a coffee break from now, and you can ask him directly. Let us thank him again for the interesting talk.
Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。ちょっとマイクトラブルが。いや、すみません、マイクテストジャンプして。あれでも繋がってんの？いや、もしかしたらやっぱりこの声が大きいので、繋がってるように聞こえたんですけど。
なんかね、でも確かに。 welcome everybody again. So, well, let's continue with the hierarchical work. In this session, this is the second session of computational musicology, and the last of the day. We have two very interesting works now. The first one is deepGTTM-IV, the deep learning-based time span tree analyzer of GTTM, will be presented by Hamanaka.
Thank you very much, Rizo. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Satoshi Hamanaka, and I work for Rizo in Japan. Today, I am presenting our work on deepGTTM-IV, a deep learning-based time span tree analyzer of GTTM. As a brief background, the time span tree was derived by the generative theory of tonal music, or GTTM for short, which was proposed by Valero and Keynote in 1983. This year makes the 20th anniversary of our GTTM research, and it is now possible to automatically acquire time span tree with a high accuracy. Here you can see the evolution of GTTM analyzers above the timeline and applications below the timeline. We proposed this melodic morphing method here in 2007. And here's an overview of melodic morphing method. First, we acquire two time span trees, sigma A and sigma B, from two input melodies A and B. Then we can acquire the common information of sigma A and sigma B by using the meet operator. We can acquire sigma alpha, which is the intermediate of sigma A and sigma A meet sigma B, because the information of the sigma A includes the sigma A meet sigma B. In the same way, sigma beta is acquired from sigma B and sigma A meet sigma B. Finally, we can acquire sigma alpha join sigma beta, which is an intermediate of sigma A and sigma B, by combining sigma alpha and sigma beta. Using a melodic morphing method, we made this melody slot machine in 2019. For this application, we use a dial-type interface that enables users to replace the part of melody segments that the virtual player will play. Variations in melodic segment are composed on the basis of the melodic morphing method, so switching the melody segment maintains the overall structure of melody and only change the ornamentation. Let me show you a video of our melodic slot machine. version of the melody throat machine. Please download the app or watch videos of YouTube. Let's take closer look at the GTTM analyzers, which are above the timeline. We developed the automatic time span tree analyzer, or ATTA, and the interactive GTTM analyzer. In the interactive GTTM analyzer, the structure is determined by adjusting the GTTM rule weight with adjustable parameters. However, the analysis performance is low due to the difficulty of adjusting the parameters. After ATTA, we developed FATTA, a fully automatic time span tree analyzer. The parameters are automatically adjusted in FATTA, but the analysis performance is even lower than that of ATTA. We developed an app called Expectation Piano using FATTA, which assists novice with musical improvisation by displaying the predicted note on the piano reed. The brightness depends on the stability of each note. Let me show you a video of Expectation Piano. The next time span tree analyzer we developed after FTTA was the Sigma GTTM. 3 studies were published on time span analyzers based on probabilistic context grammar PCFG around the same time. However, all of them have a low performance. So far, we have looked at ATTA, FATTA, and Sigma GTTM. All 3 these have a low performance because they only deal with local information. ATTA and FATTA only apply the local rules defined in GTTM and adjust weight for the rules. In contrast, PCFG-based method use the full search or Vitabi algorithm to search the full area. However, PCFG rules are also based only on local information. The introduction of deep learning into GTTM analysis has dramatically improved the analytical performance. We input the entire piece into the deep neural networks of deepGTTM-1, 2, and 3, and result, the accuracy of the grouping and metrical structure analysis improves. Direct learning from score to the musical structure is difficult as there are big gaps between the score and the structure. However, learning from the score to rules can be easy because each rule is quite simple. For example, there are big register changes at those 4 positions, so GPL3A will be applied at these positions. Also, there are rest at these 2 positions, so GPL2B will be applied at these positions. In addition, running from score and rules to musical structure is easy. Therefore, we can run the relationship between score and the grouping boundary by multitask learning using deep learning. approach when developing a time span tree analyzer based on deep learning is to input an entire pieces information into a deep neural network. There are two known problems in developing a learning-based time span tree analyzer: the raw number of ground truth datasets and the ambiguity of the reduction process. As for the first problem, the GTTM database has published 300 melodies and their time span trees as a ground truth. However, 300 datasets is extremely small for the running deep neural networks. With such a small amount of running data, overfitting is inevitable, and appropriate value cannot be output when unknown data are input. Therefore, we propose a stepwise reduction whereby the minimum process of analysis is set as one dataset, and then the number of datasets is increased. For example, if the deep neural network directly runs the relationship between a 4-note melody and its time span tree, the number of datasets is only one. If we consider the process of reducing one node to one dataset, the number of datasets will be 3. The time span tree for a melody consisting of 4 nodes can be constructed by estimating 4 to 3 nodes, 3 to 2 nodes, and 2 to 1 node, and combining the result. Now, let me move on the second problem, the ambiguity of the reduction process. To implement the stepwise reduction, the priority of branches must be obtained in a total order. However, there is no detailed explanation on the reduction process in the GTTM. For example, in this figure we can see 2 levels of the reduction result, but it is not clear how many levels are necessary. Furthermore, the priority order within one level is unknown. As a solution to these problems, we propose a time span tree labeled by duration of time span. We call the longest temporal interval when a given pitch event becomes most salient in the maximum time span for the event. In other words, the maximum time span of a pitch event considers with the temporal duration of the subtree of which the event becomes the head, as based on the time span analysis. I'll skip the details here, and this figure shows a time span tree drawn with the duration of the time span. The branch priority is determined in order for the top in accordance with the first rule. Then, in accordance with the second rule, branch 1 has the highest priority and branch 2 has the second highest priority. The second level in the tree is the double node level. In accordance with the second rule, the branch from 1 becomes 3 and that from 2 becomes 4. In the same manner, the priority is determined up to the 60th node level. Since all the melodies in the GTTM database are monophonic, the reduction method is limited to monophony. The notes in the melodies are made into one character string with the pitch and duration concatenated. The pitch is represented as 12 times without distinguishing between different octaves. By multiplying by 4, duration of the most notes becomes an integer, because since their melodies contains only a few triplets, 6 tablet and set tablet, the duration is rounded up to integer. The stepwise reduction is applied to the least important node. A dataset of stepwise reduction is then created using the data before stepwise reduction as input data, the data after reduction as output data. The duration of node after reduction is the sum up of duration of two nodes before reduction. The placeholder L or R is inserted as a position where node disappeared due to the reduction. L is inserted when the reduction is absorbed into the left node, and R is inserted when it absorbed into the right node. We generated about 7,000 stepwise reduction training dataset from 270 music pieces from the GTTM database, consists of 300 pieces. About 7,000 training datasets are not enough to train the deep neural network, so we carried out data augmentation. Each node is shifted 11 times by a semitone, and the amount of training data is multiplied by 12. The duration of nodes are 2 to 16 times and rounded up to the nearest integer, and then the amount of data set is multiplying by 16. The stepwise reduction is run using a transformer model. A time function is then obtained by iterating stepwise reduction. We train the transformer model using more than 1 million running data set from 270 or 300 pieces in the GTTM database. Accuracy was 0.99 when they varied with 849 stepwise reduction from the remaining pieces. Okay, I've skipped the details. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this interesting presentation. We have time for a few questions.
Thank you very much. I was wondering, the augmented reality lady playing the marimba seemed to follow very well the new melodies that were generated, and I was wondering how was this produced? Did you record every single possible melodies with her, and then it's a matter of using bits and pieces of the video?
Yes, there are 11 melodies. First we recorded all the melodies, and then we shoot all the video. Sound is easy to connect because fade out and fade in and volume. But the video is not connected directly because the motion is different. So we inserted a video generated by AI, so it's smoothly to move.
That sounds great. Have you published that as well somewhere?
Yes. Yeah, actually, video is generated by a student from Waseda University in Japan, and now he works in AIST. And the journal is from VISA, or Visual Conference.
Where can we find the paper on the Slack? You can say it on Slack if you remember the...
Okay. Or you can Google the melody slot machine, you can also find...
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Time is up now. For more questions, maybe you can talk to him during the dinner. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, the next presenter is Matteo Bizzarri, from the Scuola Normale Superiore in Italy. He will be presenting the music and logic, connection between two words.
Yes. Okay. Maybe, okay. you something strange because actually I am a philosopher. I'm doing my PhD in philosophy, so this is kind of new. I have heard a lot of very interesting stuff that I don't know anything about. And today I want to talk about my idea. This is kind of strange. I'm studying philosophy of mathematics and logic and music. I'm a jazz pianist. And so I tried to unify these two words and to try to find out something interesting. So I'm going to talk something new, charts. Well, what's proof theory? Proof theory is something that we use a lot in logic that is really interesting to create proofs, to formalize proofs in mathematics. There are mainly two kinds of proof theory. One that starts from axioms and goes down to the final sentence, and one that starts from the sentence and decomposes it to obtain the axioms. This is kind of strange, but I arrived to the music. Yeah, I promise. Why proof theory? Well, I think that a rule-based approach can translate the system, and it is possible to use that to create something like a proof in music. Obviously, music is not a proof. I don't have to say that. But it is really interesting to visualize that. The second reason is the malleability of the system, because due to the extended literature on it, and its applications are like everywhere. You can find a lot of different kinds of proof theories in different manners and ways. And the final reason, and the main reason, is its double nature. So we can go, as you can see, from axioms to the sentence, and from the sentence to the axioms. So this kind of invertibility was the trigger. We have to say that usually in classical logic we have three main rules that are contraction, exchange, and weakening. But we can use all of them. It's quite clear because exchange, as we will see, it can't be used because if we change the charts, we just change the meaning. We can't go just from G to C and then we change that from C to G. It changes meaning. And obviously, we can use neither weakening, that means adding something new to the demonstration. So we can just add at random new charts to our proof. Then we will use only the contraction. So from the same chart that is repeated, we obtain only one. Well, usually this is kind of usually in proof theory. We use rules. So from two different axioms, we obtain, for example, a conjunction. The same thing, I tried to formalize it in music. So we have the fifth, that means just that this is a fifth application. This is the fifth from the fifth to the one, and we obtain the meaning chart, the main chart. The east means the introduction, and the one is the times of using the rule. We can use it a lot of time because we can have an entire circle of fifths and so on. So we can formalize the authentic cadence in a way that is something like this. This means that we obtain from the second fifth one, and as you can see, second fifth one, I'm obviously just pianist because this is just something that we use a lot. So this is the fifth application, fifth introduction of the rule, fifth, 2 times, then 3 times, and so on. And we can continue for all the circle of fifths. So we can try to formalize also other kind of rules, for example, plagal cadence, or inversions, or triton substitution. So, for example, we can formalize something like this. We can formalize that from the fifth we go to the sixth, and we obtain the first because it's the final meaning. So the main chart of all the system will be the first. the same thing can happen if we want the fourth instead of the second. Well, for example, let's try to formalize, but not for me. It seems strange at first, but I can assure that it's more easier than how it seems. So, for example, in the first line, we have that the fifth rule is applied, 2 times, and we obtain E flat. With the inversion, we obtain E flat, and then we have a second fifth one, a circle of fifth again. The same thing here, and we have a plugin cadence, we have another fifth application, and so on. What can we deduce from this? We can deduce that all the main chord of this very weird structure will be E flat. What have I tried to do? It's something that we as jazz pianists or jazz musicians in general, we do usually. So we see a progression and we say, okay, which are the main notes that we have to play to improvise in this structure, in this second, fifth one, etc. This one. Usually, this is a kind of the reasoning that is behind this. The interesting thing, and the main reason why I thought that this could be interesting, is that in proof theory we can invert the process. So, the same thing can happen if we want to compose a new harmonic structure. So, if before we have decomposed, so we have analyzed the harmonic structure of a piece, now we can construct a new harmonic structure. So, for example, this can be the rule of adding the fifths. This can be the rule of plugin cadences. These can be the inversions. And then we can try randomly to create a new harmonic structure. And I can assure you it works. It's something not really strange, but it works. For example, I applied the fifth rule and the triton substitution, and then we obtain a new harmonic structure. This can be maybe the A of a standard jazz piece. What is the other feature of this system that can be interesting? Is that obviously we can add new rules to the system. We don't have to concentrate only on the rules that I have showed until now, because obviously it's a limitative representation. But we can have new rules. For example, this is a rule that I have invented. That is, when I use the rule TH, from one chord, I obtain the third of the fifth and the one. So this means that from here we can obtain a new harmonic structure where sometimes, for example here and there, I've applied this new kind of rule that I have created properly. It's just a way. It's just a way that I have used to try to formalize a process that usually I follow when I compose a tonal harmonic structure, or maybe, in this case, something a little bit different. Well, maybe some of you have known CCG, so combinatorial categorical grammar. And so why can't we just use that? And why have I to create something that is different? Well, combinatorial categorical grammar played obviously a role in inspiring me to delve into this research. But yeah, the first reason that I didn't have written here is that at the time, I'm a philosopher, a logician, so I didn't know anything about it. So I just created the structure of my idea, and then I find out that this was kind of similar. But I think that because of this effect of inversion, because of the fact that we can go from the analysis to the composition in a very easy way. I think that we can, this method can be more flexible thanks to this kind of inversion. On the other hand, because of the fact that, as I said, I'm a philosopher and not a computer scientist or something, I don't still have a computation approach that can verify that this method can be applied in general to every standard jazz. Moreover, structural proof theory is a field with a rich body of research. This means that we can use a lot of the properties that logicians have made in the years. And this extends beyond chord progressions, and so can be maybe encompasses also melody, dynamics analysis, and so on. And just sometimes seeing different methods to reach the same results can improve both of them, I hope. So, what's next? Obviously, develop a program that is rooted in this logical proof theory framework to analyze a collection of charts, and this can be very hard for me. And then establish distinctions among the rules. This was suggested by a reviewer, and it is kind of interesting because maybe finding some rules that are used in particular in a certain period of time can be very helpful to know the music genre and structure, but I don't know. And the third one is create a program based on the composition part, so that we can have an automatic generator of charts bounded with rules randomly decided or decided by the composer. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Matteo, for this inspiring presentation. I'm sure there are many questions.
Many.
Yes.
Very nice presentation, love it. I have two questions each. So first one is, I saw that you were using sequence calculus as a starting point. How does it work to, if you have a chord progression, do you put in, is that an end of sentences that you then can demonstrate in sequence calculus? Can you do that?
An end, in the sense of...
As in a conjunction, because I assume you put it on the right.
Yeah, my idea is that you apply the rules that you have until you don't have any rules to apply.
Right, so your chord progression is basically your conclusion.
Yes,
and try to
that's the conclusion. I've tried to use this method also for giant steps, for example, and obviously you can't, because giant steps is based on three main charts, you can't reduce after these three main charts. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. And other question is, you're basically translating classical logic. So this will suffer from codal incompleteness. Have you tried constructing a codal sentence in this?
This is not second order logic, so it doesn't have the problem of incompleteness. This is can be considered like predicate, neither first order logic, so it's neither indecisible. The fact is that I still have to understand the properties of this system, because I was wondering that can be in a certain sense incomplete, because you don't know when to stop if you don't set the number of rules. Like you have to set a finite number of rules, and then you know when you stop. But if you decide to add new rules, maybe you can continue the progression. So it's incomplete in this very philosophical sense, but not, yes.
Thanks. Okay.
Maybe this one. We have 5 minutes left. Try to be short.
Thank you. Quite inspiring. I think that if I see the tree-shaped reduction of the entire, let's say, a standard song, do you think that it would be sensitive to its like modification distance? let's say if I slightly change a substitute a chord with a very weird sound, very weird new chord that requires a lot of steps of transformation as you propose, would that drastically change the shape of the tree? Or do you have a metric to measure the distance of the modification?
Interesting. Thank you very much. I think that it depends. Maybe, yeah, if you substitute this one with some random charts, I don't know, D major 7. On one hand, you can or try a new rule that explains why that D major 7 is exactly there, and then you add the rule to the system, and so the shape, it remains something similar. Or on the other hand, you just can take this D major 7 or something that is outside, and so the final reduction will be maybe E flat, D major, E flat. So yeah, it changes, but not too much, I think, because the rest of the tree will remain the same.
I wonder if it's possible. Let's say if we build the tree from a bottom-top process, we start from other details and reduce it to a tree. And is it possible to prune the tree after we get the tree? And
to prune the tree.
Prune top down from the final result backward to prune some weird branches and treat them as like abnormal.
I think so. Maybe this can be considered like the tree that you are talking about, for because of the space, this must be like only one row. And maybe it could be clearer because everything will be like this, but very, very long. Everything will be, one row, very, very long. But because of space, we can't do that. And so you are saying like doing the tree on the contrary, but starting from the progress, from the chart progression, right?
I mean, after we finish the reduction, we start from the the top of the tree.
Yeah, that could be a nice idea. I have to work on it. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, the last question, there were.
Yes, thank you. It was a very nice presentation. I was wondering, I think the rules that you presented here, the rewriting rules, I think you picked them yourself. Have you considered looking at musicological theories that led themselves well to formalization in terms of rewriting rules? I'm thinking of, I think, Schenkerian theory might be a good candidate for that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Also, if I wanted to go a little bit far from Schenkerian, because I wanted the new rules. So this fact that we can add new rules and not just stop at tonal music. Like tonal music. Maybe it seems tonal too, but my idea is that in the future can be also developed something different. But yes, maybe that could be a nice point of a nice starting point. Yes, thank you very much.
Just shoot. I can't be silent. Sorry. Yes, we have worked together and discussed much, and I think that is we can compare two proofs. If it is against the style, the proof is just proof. Either way, if it is proved, it's correct. But we can compare two different proofs, which is more probable, which is more adequate for the structure of music. So comparing the current question says that is two trees are possible. But which tree is more, reflecting the structure of the music?
Yeah, that could be the next work.
Right.
Yes, the work where
we're working with the probability, some probability logic.
Yes.
So your rules includes very rare rules, like some inversion or some 6 to 3 or like that. Yeah, that is you give us some kind of probability.
Yes.
We can, rely on some result of some machine learning, for example.
Yeah, totally. In fact, I like in the logical part of my life, like the formal one, I'm working on probabilistic logics, and maybe, yeah, my idea is that in the future I can mix together like the probabilistic proof theory and this kind of analysis, and I think that it could be interesting. Yeah, obviously this has some limitations. For example, if you take, I was wondering just in the last days, so I didn't have time to add this, but I wanted to say it and I will stop. If you take, for example, Stardust, a famous jazz standard, it doesn't have progressions that end exactly in this way. So we don't have a second, fifth one, and second, fifth one, etc. But we have second, fifth, and maybe here there is the one, and then second, fifth, and here we have the one, etc. And so this will be a new challenge for this kind of system that obviously, as is constructed now, can't handle, I think. But maybe with this application of probability, yes, that could be really interesting to find out how to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you everyone. The session is over. There will be some instructions, no, for the dinner or
cheese cut. Okay. Okay. From the organizer, this is dinner from 6 p.m. by Sesama. So the dinner place is the same as the reception. If you attended the Monday reception, the place is same. If you have arrived later, sorry. This is different one. Okay. Anyway, many of you remember the place that is a Monday's reception. So go down to the slope, and you can have some small path to the right-hand side, building 8, the dinner place, from 6 p.m. I'm sorry. And one more important announcement is.
Sorry, is there a departure from here? Just for those people who...
Yes, if you are not remember or you are not confident, some my student will lead you, will take you.
At what time?
5:40. Okay, 5:40. Let us meet at 5:40 at the entrance.
Perfect.
Okay. 5:30.
5:36.
5:37. 5:30. But if you arrive too early, there's not prepared yet. I must say. I think 5:40 is enough. Yeah, 5:40. And one more important announcement is tomorrow, one more session. Please join us. Please come here. Very important event is the publication, the announcement of the best paper award tomorrow morning. So please come. Unfortunately, tomorrow's weather report is not good, but please come and join us and celebrate the best paper. Okay? Thank you for.